What is going on? Thank you for tuning into the Winner's Paradigm podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about using the Drake effect and how you can be able to use that in your podcast. That is something right now that people don't understand is it doesn't matter necessarily where you are. If you collaborate with other successful entrepreneurs, other successful individuals who are out there right now doing exactly what you are, it can lead you to great things. So for me, it's been amazing lately because I've been connecting with people. I've been doing better work. I've been channeling into learning more about myself and how I can be able to add extra value onto people without, stressing what I don't want. Right. And one of the coolest parts about that was going through a traumatic event, going through a time where everything broke down for me and I had to go back to the basics. And now being a night owl instead of waking up early in the morning because it suits me easier to have some uninterrupted time and just to go in and do what I need to do, to decompress, to do some burpees, to do whatever I need to do. So I've been staying up all night sometimes and getting shit done. It's whatever works for you, right? But the reason why I say this is when I would go to certain individuals, it would be, met with, no, you need to stick to waking up early. You need to stick to whatever it is. And then certain people were like, hey, man, if it's working for you, that's it. Let's optimize this. Let's work on this. Let's add all these things in. So I started changing the perception of I'm fucking up because I'm not doing what I need to be doing to doing better because I took all the time, the effort, the resources to be able to do that. So good that we're back. We're going to have more episodes going out, but it was time for me that I was able to take this time and just think about things, get better and better, and really put that as the forefront of what I'm looking to do. And this was a topic that popped up in my head, and I knew I can add extra mental value on people. Is talking about how we can use this Drake effect. So you're always seeing Drake with any new artist out there. His album came out. He had Sexy Red on there. She's been popping. You always want to have people that have attraction. When I used to work with Zach Babcock, that was something he used to always talk about, is, hey, if you really want to make your shit explode, fly out, go interview people and record that, build this relationship, show them who you are by what you do, how you carry yourself and so forth. And that's one of the biggest things. And that's what's allowed me to make great friends within podcasting. I haven't traveled too much because I got the family and I'm getting all my shit handled. So it's been awesome just building it through Instagram and then definitely fostering it even more, the relationships online, because we have to make sure that we show people we care about them, even though it's up to a limited capacity. So it's been awesome because it's building these relationships, these friendships that I never really thought I would have. And that's what we can do when we use the Strike effect, for instance, is we're just supporting whoever is killing it right now, whoever keeps doing well. For instance, I was going through my own ego issues, and there was a gentleman who I'm going to have on the podcast pretty soon, but he was pissing me off with just the things he would do, the things he would say, and so forth. And when I thought about it, it was like, man, this man's genuinely excited about his growth, everything that he's doing, and I'm being in opposition as people did to me because what I was thinking to him was he's not on my level. He's not what I envision as greatness. And that is why it's going to change the whole outcome. Didn't make any sense to have that mindset and be strapped with that. But it was something to where I learned that if I collaborated, it's going to be better. We had some conversations. It changed my mind. I became better after that individual being around me. So it was something I had to learn for myself is, hey, anytime you collaborate with somebody who's popping as well, that has that influence, it's going to make you look so much better, but it's going to help you even more. So we're going to run down the 10 things that's going to help you use the Drake effect when promoting your podcast. First thing is defining your niche, building a strong brand, having high quality content, researching and identifying your top guests that you want on, crafting personalized benefits for the guests, which I'll jump into that, leverage existing connections, highlight previous guests, promote through other avenues, and then foster the relationship, and then continue to improve by staying consistent as well. So first thing is defining your niche. This goes into where you start your podcast, and I think this is something that we're seeing right now with Barbie, what's her all off or whatever the fuck her name is, who they're saying industry plan. She's getting all these people on her podcast and doing all these great things with it. Why? Because she was able to build that brand. She was the mom talker before, was able to come into something new, has that style, has that edginess that gets people off of their horse, and it allows her to be able to create something that's going to drag views into it. Need some coffee, man. So for you, you need to figure out what your niche is. And for me, my niche kept being in the self-development realm, but it went so specific to the man that was on his knees asking God to change. Why? Because I too am that man. I too was that man who got on his knees, asked God to change, and realized that it took more work from me to change and to do simple daily actions to be different than to not do these things. So it's very hard for me to be around people who don't have that same mindset, don't have that same values, don't work or do whatever. I'm not trying to put my expectations on other people. It's just a way of living. And if you're not living to that standard, that is something where I would have issues, right? So that's where I start talking about that more on the podcast and being like, man, I'm not trying to be the most machismo motherfucker out there. I'm not trying to shut everybody down. I'm not trying to say I'm the best human being ever. I'm trying to say that on my experience of life throughout this years, there's certain things that strike me logically that I'm just like, man, if you keep fucking seeing what your actions do, yet you want to keep fucking doing it, the only one to blame is yourself. So shut the fuck up. It is not the right mindset in every case. It may be correct, but that's not the way to portray things. So you can talk about that when you develop that niche, go specific. And for me, that's something that allows me to build that personal connection with the listener is by being able to talk about these tough things that we traditionally want to talk about. Like I said, the men being macho, not talking about our feelings. We're fucking drinking. Literally right now, I'm drinking coffee. And this is a metaphor because I could have been drinking beer in the past. And that's how I've been able to talk about these things on the podcast and be vulnerable with people and so forth. So define your niche, figure out for yourself uh, what it's going to be, how people are going to tune in, and what that value you're going to build into, which is going to go into building that strong brand. Why? Because when we're working on this effect, you need a brand to fall after. So that's why I say when we're talking about Drake, for instance, and collaborating with other people and using this in terms of our podcast, you have your brand, you already have the niche, you already have the brand of your style. You can get people who match to that. You can get people that challenge that. And I've done that as well. I've got on for the most part, and I think everybody catches this fucking gist. Everybody that I interview is males for the most part. There are some females that come along, and I do like to uh, interview females that are more on the feminine side and completely fucking different than what I am. Why? Because it challenges, it strikes some opposition, it strikes some tough conversations. That's going to make me work a little bit harder than I would with somebody who's more my style in my flux of what I can do. So when you're building a strong brand, you need to figure out what it can be. It goes in number 3 of looking at the high quality guests. That is what you need to be doing is researching and identifying. But 2, here's one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves is when people are like, man, do you have any questions for me already? Do you have any questions that I'm going to be able to answer before we get going, before we start doing whatever it needs to be? I fucking hate hearing that shit from people because it's like, man, when I get you on my podcast, it's a genuine conversation. We genuinely talk about things. We genuinely work to be the best that we can be. It's not just something that we wake up and you do it and you don't do it or whatever the fuck it is. No, this is something we do every single day. So I want to have a conversation with you about what's important to you in that. And I don't look at that. I look at the individual, whether if they sent me an email and they wanted to get on or it's through social media or somebody I've been following, I do my research on them first. That way, when we have that genuine conversation, I know a couple things I can be able to strike with them, what they like to do, their hobbies. I like to know ahead of time, do they have kids? Are they married? So I can be able to ask these things. And if they don't at the same time, hey man, what did you learn, from either not getting married before, getting divorced, whatever it is? You can attack all these things, and people love that when you genuinely want to connect with them. So that's a big one for me, is doing the research on the guests. And that is, I've fucking had people had paid to get on the podcast, and they just didn't give a fuck about me. They didn't give a fuck about the podcast. They paid because they were like, oh, this is going to help me get to where I need to be. But they took the human perspective out of it and just made it so much less fun for me because it was something where I was just like, man, this dude's just robotic. He's just here to sell his fucking product. And you can tell that off a person. So that's what you need to do is be authentic, figure out for yourself what it is, how you're going to be able to show up, and what it looks like to be able to make all these things happen. And in a lot of cases, we don't think about this till it's too fucking late, whatever. The next thing I'm talking is crafting that personal message. So for me, I like to hit people through DMs and Facebook. And you can also do it through Instagram. And I send a voice message and I'm like, hey man, I've been watching for a hot minute. I've been seeing you do the fucking burpees. I've been seeing you do the work. I've been seeing the change that you've had since the beginning of your journey as a man who wasn't a six-figure entrepreneur, became a seven-figure, became a better husband, dad, father. Man, I would love to connect with you. I have a podcast called The Winner's Paradigm. It's about recalibrating your mindset. We really gem on these things and talk about how we can be better fathers, husbands, um, human beings, leaders, servants, whatever you want to call it. That is our focus, is really just giving those tools to men so they can live the lives that they want to live. Because I know a lot of us are so used to checking out our bad past, drinking, whatever our vices is. So if you love to jam sometime, let's talk. You can shorten that down, but I'm going long-winded. But I really just send like a 1 minute, 30-second uh, recording to people, or you can do a video and just connect with them on that, and that's why I say when you can add the extra benefit to them of why they can be able to talk to you, it's that. And if you got that mouthpiece and you can be able to talk about, man, I fucking love this. And I know, hey man, when I get you on my podcast, we're gonna be fucking talking about how you grew up. Oh, people love telling their stories. So you can easily be doing that. You can easily be saying, "How'd you start your business? How could it? Oh, what's your favorite fucking car that you have? Oh, how important is it to you that you have these nice things that you always dreamed of? Whatever it is, do the research. You know the guest. You know exactly what they're looking for. You craft that personalized message to get them on. You're all building rapport on who you are, and this is where leveraging those connections that you have currently is good. And for instance, shout out to my man Joe Graham. He sends me messages. Hey man, I just connected with this person. Would you like to interview them? Would you like me to connect you with them? And I've got some of my guests from him. And it's been awesome because one of my guys is looking out for me and helping me with something that I need. And one of the ways he does that is by showing up, being of service, and helping me in another way. So it's fucking awesome sometimes is being able to have him send me guests or whatever. So I do anything I can for that. And that's where leveraging those relationships is important because it teaches you that there's always something you can do that can elevate your game, that can get you to where you need to be, but it may need some other people need to be. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. So this is where it challenges me to get better and better and figure out what I need to do is leveraging those connections. And then we always want to link it back to us, highlight the previous guests we've had: John Lee Dumas, my man Mohammed Yunus, Alpha Slice, Reliant Fitness, Clan Die, Zach Babcock, Tony Watley. I already said John Lee Dumas, in the works for Dave Meltzer, in the works for Tim Story, in the works for, I don't even know. Couple other dudes. I had Sean Crane on. Needless to say, I'm not trying to just go on and brag about all the people I've had on my podcast, but it's been amazing having these people. Marcus Ogden is one person I forgot about too, who's fucking amazing. And I grew up listening to guys, so pretty cool. It was cool being able to connect with all these people. And this is why I say highlight the previous guests, put out social media content of the previous guests. Anytime you add and you provide the best social media content, that's why I put out a video the other day and I was like, tag them on your story, put out the best possible fucking video you can, and then try to get them to post it out, whether it's on their story, whatever it is. People were like, man, that's fucking crazy. And I was like, man, if you can be able to provide that and be like, hey, I made this kick ass video, or just send them the video and they're like, fuck, what the fuck is this? Man, I made a video of the podcast episode. Check it out if you'd like to post it. And I just wanted to help you out, brother. People love that extra service of it. And that's something I started doing is every single guest who comes on, give them 1 or 2 videos, have them post it out. It's more press for me, links it back to me directly, a little bit easier, and it's going to allow you to savor that relationship, to build it for more, to really show that person that, hey, I care about you. You're an amazing human being. Thank you for doing it. It allows you to show that consistency, that structure, to be able to improve in the future and show exactly who you are. A lot of times we're just struggling with having that set structure that builds us into everything. And that's what I'm learning for myself now that I'm building coaching programs. I'm helping people out. It's more of structure sometimes to where we need to structure everything, place ourselves within that time frame, and then say, hey, this is how we're going to stack off of it. This is how we're going to get better. So I hope this helped you. Here are the 10 steps. Once again, define your niche, build a strong brand, highlight quality content, research and identify top guests, craft personalized benefits for your guests, leverage existing connections, highlight previous guests, provide promotion through social media, foster those relationships, and continue to improve by staying consistent. Man, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor tuning in today. But I really felt like this Drake effect is something that is great. And I really wanted to take this and use it for podcasting and teach people how you can be able to do it. Because a lot of times we don't know that. For me, I'm a man that does podcast production. So if you're having issues with getting your podcast out there, you're having issues with connecting with others, you're having issues with really just doing what you're called to do, you focus on the podcast, you focus on the work that you need to do to be able to get that done, to get the interviews done. I'll do all the back end work, do the production for you. We can be able to connect you with my team and get this all squashed out. So you just focus on your passion and so forth. So if you want to do that, I'm going to leave that link in the show notes. Go ahead and click on it, and that is where we can book it. Or you can DM me on Instagram, Alundis_Havens. Just say podcast production. That's the way that we can be able to get you booked on, get you on the team to streamline your process of doing your podcast, transforming that into powerful messages, and allowing you to focus in on what you are called here to do, and us to carry out that mission by doing all that hard work. Click the link in the show notes, message me, podcast production on Instagram. Be the easiest way moving forward. Appreciate y'all. Hope you guys have an amazing day.